Oh, I need to accept.
Yeah. Hi, everyone. Welcome to the first day of EduWiki Week. My name is Sailesh. I work with the education team as Program Officer for Community Support. I hope you're all excited about this week. This is a virtual festival to celebrate and showcase the value Wikimedia projects bring in education. And we are bringing many live events, and we will share stories of our community throughout this week. Today, we have Stephane with us for our first interview. Stephane is CEO and co-founder of Kiwix. Stephane, thanks for accepting our invitation to speak with us today in the very first interview of the day. To start with, maybe tell us more about yourself and also about like Kiwix to our community members.
Yeah, sure. So Kiwix is a project that was initially started by a volunteer at WikiMedia Switzerland. We're based in Switzerland, as you can see from the chalet, if not the Kiwis. And back then in 2015 or 16, I was actually the executive director for the chapter. And I was speaking to Emmanuel, the volunteer who was writing Kiwix, the software. And I was like, we're paying for your servers, but I need some sort of metrics to know what's going on. And he was like, well, at the end of this year, I think we will have 1 million downloads. I was like, okay, that's not a random number, so let's work something else. And that's how Kiwix went from a side project to being an actual non-profit, which is independent but very close to the Wikimedia movement still. And it's been 5 years now, exactly 5 years and 1 month, I believe, today.
That's exciting, Stephane. So, I heard a lot about Kiwix even when I was a volunteer, and this is probably the second time I'm meeting. I met you for the first time in 2019, I guess, in Berlin, when we were like discussing a bit on like how to use Kiwix in Indic language projects. But it's exciting to like hear everything when we talk about like offline access or offline education. So what's the broad mission of Kiwix?
So our broad mission, so maybe to take a step back for people that are not as familiar as you are with Kiwix, what we do is we copy the entirety of Wikipedia, or actually all Wikimedia projects. So Wiki quotes, Wiki books, Wiki whatever, mostly Wikipedia, obviously, because that's the lead program. And we package it into a single file that you can download onto your computer or onto your phone, like random phone, and you can literally browse all of Wikipedia as if you were connected, except that you're not. It's a local copy and you cannot edit, obviously it's offline, but you can browse Wikipedia anytime and pretty much anywhere. So what's the mission? Well, basically, if the mission of the foundation is to share the sum of all human knowledge, our mission is to bring it to people who cannot access it. So our main audience, I would say, are people without internet access. And when I say without internet access, it means because they may be in the middle of nowhere, so there's no infrastructure, but also because they cannot afford to pay for that data, or simply because some random event made it so that it's impossible. Like, I don't know, for instance, in lots of parts in India, you have random internet shutdowns and other places in the world for one reason or the other, but Kashmir is one that came to mind from last year. So in that case, we make sure that people can still access educational material. And we don't do just Wikipedia, but also plenty of other websites. If it says education and it's freely licensed, then we'll try to make a copy of it and make sure that people can access it.
Thanks. Thanks for sharing that, Stephane. Yeah, I mean, we do understand like how I actually went through your website as well, and I found that it's mentioned like near about more than 1 billion people still do not have access to the internet, and it's a way to like provide access to education or access to resources through Kiwix. There's one interesting thing that we also found during the pandemic is that we saw a different transition from students who were having access to education through the traditional infrastructure, like being in school, learning from there, to a new way of transition where they are having classes through like online spaces or online ways. But we know that it's not accessible for everyone. Like people have challenges to gather those resources. I mean, you have already shared about that, but where do you see like the role of Kiwix, like the role that Kiwix can play in those areas, and also like providing access to education to remote locations where it's not like where there are no other resources available. I mean, even I can say a bit about like my state where if you go to a remote location, they don't even have like public access to like public libraries. So they are very much like limited with whatever is there within their textbook. So how can Kiwix help with that?
So well, maybe it's a little too early still to say this, but in a way, the pandemic was a good thing for us, obviously, but also for education because it forced a lot of people to rethink how learning could be done. And before you would send kids to school and then they would have a teacher teaching them and then they would learn stuff and then, there's an exam at the end of it and you make sure you got it right. When people are supposed to be online, then you realize that not everyone can afford to be online. So we're back to square one of like having a large chunk. I think the number was, close to 800 million to a billion kids that actually were cut off from school. Like, it's not even that they could learn at home, it's just they couldn't learn anymore. So in that case, like Kiwix is handy because it's a free software. It's entirely free to use. You can literally go to school where someone has downloaded the content and then you share it fairly easily. You put it on your phone. And then the next stage of learning is like, okay, you've got all this information at hand. So maybe it's not time to learn by heart, but it's time to think. And I think that will have a change and a major influence on how education is being taught. Kids are not taught to learn by heart, and they will increasingly be taught to learn to think for themselves. So Kiwix in that sense, really drives the point home that anyone can have the sum of all human knowledge. Now you need to make something out of it. And we had tons of requests, I should say, that, the pandemic was, I felt bad about that, but the pandemic was good for offline. Like people realized it existed. It wasn't just some issue for some poor people in the middle of the jungle. You can be in a big city and still, have no internet access. And then what do you do to learn? So, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's a way that helped us like rethink everything that we had in like we were at a normal situation, but the pandemic helped us think like, oh, this is probably not the normal situation. There's so many challenges that people go through just to even like to have the understanding of like what they are studying. I I also like want to ask a follow-up question related to this. As you mentioned that Kiwix mostly like hosts Wikipedia and Wikimedia projects. So that also means that they not only have access to those resources in English, but in other languages as well. So Kiwix does support multilingual projects.
We do every single language, every single wiki that's available. It needs to be outside of the incubator. But I think the smallest one is probably a couple of hundred articles, and we'll still do it every month because we have servers that, like a farm, if you will, every month that will produce a new copy of Wikipedia and you take in from the dumps. So every single language we will produce a new version. For us, there's no hierarchy between English and Canada or Chinese or whatever. It's just, it's there, it needs to be used, and we'll make sure it's usable.
Thanks, Stephane. That brings me to an interesting question because I see the intersection between Kiwix and Wikimedia. So you have already shared it before, like the mission of Wikimedia is to have access to all the, have some of all knowledge like accessible for anyone. And the mission of Kiwix is to like make it happen. Like everyone will have this access to information. But so like how do you see both the organization, they have like aligned mission?
Well, the first reason that the Wikimedia Foundation came to us, I remember, is when they told us, we have an issue because 75-80% of our readers are actually up north. And I was like, oh, that's funny because 75-80% of our readers are actually down south. What used to be called the Global South or Global North. I don't know what's the appropriate term now, but so we were like really complementary. We were really meant to work together. On a more practical level, all those dumps that are generated every month, they're actually being done on Wikimedia servers. So the foundation is very, every day is lending us computing power, because when you take, let's take for English, it's the biggest one. When you read the 6.3 million articles, you need to understand that those 6.3 million articles, they have interlinks, they have images, they have templates. So it's actually 100 million items that need to be compressed into one single file. So it's a lot of computing power, and we cannot afford that. So the foundation is actually providing the servers and the people to help us solve those issues, because, well, you know, when it's that big, we get a lot of issues. So we really, yeah, we do a good job together. We also work with another team, which is a partnership team, which role is pretty much to, you know, push the use of Wikimedia projects around the world in education. So those guys, they're like, okay, you can come to Wikimedia and Wikipedia and teach your kids how to edit and how to think, how writing is done, like the importance of getting references right. And it's a different, you know, mindset. And then the minister will say, yeah, but you know, where I live or where the countryside is, people would like to do this, but they cannot. And then we're like one other thing on their portfolio, and they're like, oh yeah, that's okay. We have a solution for that as well. You can still access Wikipedia. And actually there's some instances where you can actually edit offline. There's a project that's called Wiki Funding. And so we're good. And that really helps push the ball, because whenever they have an objection saying, you know, we have no offline access and we need to help people in the countryside as well as in the city, they're like, yeah, we can help for that too.
I'm curious about one thing. Probably this can be a follow-up question. Have you seen volunteers, or sorry, have you seen readers who have accessed Kiwix through like offline ways? Like after that, they come up to Wikimedia projects or contribute articles to Wikimedia projects?
So we cannot track them because they're offline, but we know that it's stage one of internet access, if you will. Like the first part is like you got 0. The second part is get offline access, and you get already a feel for the product. So you're not entirely surprised. And then, you know, the resource exists. And then, yeah, naturally, I don't have exact data on that, but I would expect that naturally there are some people, actually, there are some people that do come back to us saying, I'd like to make some edits or some comments. And then we try to redirect them. It's not so much that people are entirely offline. It's more that they are very badly online, but they want to participate. So really there's a demand.
Thanks for that answer. That brings me to the next question for this interview, Stephane. How are you as a project, Kiwix, making an impact in education? We definitely like talk about it, but you know, maybe briefly you can say, with the use of Wikimedia projects, how are you making an impact in education?
So we're making an impact. That's a very good question, because at the end of it, it's also what is the impact of Wikimedia projects as a whole. On our side, we're much more connected to field work because we have partners that are deploying Wikipedia and other projects like Wikibooks, Wiktionary, very much in demand on the field. And they get like, you know, they get people to tell them, oh, I love this, or it's just boring, I don't know. So what happens is the first thing we did is actually we broke down Wikipedia, because in an education context, it's nice to have, you know, the whole of Wikipedia as a resource, but it's more like if you want to do game night. If you're in a school, it's probably not the best. I mean, it's a great idea to have, I don't know, the list of Pokemons or movies or sports. It's great for the kids. It's not so great for the teacher, because, you know, it gets their mind wandering. I mean, it's like Wikipedia. You click on one thing, you want to know about history, and then you end up knowing about, I don't know, something that's happening in Australia 2000 years ago. So what we did is actually we broke down Wikipedia, and that's where Wiki projects are really important for us, because each Wiki project allows us to say, okay, this article relates to mathematics, this article relates to biology, to history, whatever. And then those are tags, and we take all the articles from one Wiki project and we create a subset. So we have Wikipedia Mathematics, Wikipedia History, Wikipedia Geography. And those packages, if you want, you can actually reconstruct Wikipedia but only with the school parts that you really need. You can skip the football and basketball and movies and still have something that is very usable for classroom. So that is a product that's very much in demand. Another one is a selection that was actually made a few years ago, which is called Wikipedia for Schools, which are like articles that are specifically selected because they reach topics that are related to what is being learned in the school system. So there's about like 10,000 articles on wide range of topics, but it gives you like a good feel of what you should learn about any given topic. So again, in a way, it's sad that you prevent students from, roaming and finding random knowledge, but it has to be practical at some point and needs to work. So we have those selections. And then you bring it onto the field. So if it's Libraries Without Borders, you would do it in refugee camps in the Middle East. If it's the Orange Foundation, you would do it in West Africa. If it's anywhere, there's Offlinepedia in the Andes. There's actually prison programs in the US, in California, and I think New York State, where you bring them resources and you bring them the resources and, it's nice. It's consistent. It's fairly well written. It's talks about a little bit everything. And what they noticed, we got some feedback that was very interesting, is two things. For kids that had only access to selections, they were attracted by the medium because in the context they are, using a computer is not something you can do very much, because if it's offline, the amount of information you can receive, it's just like a dead brick that's sitting there. So if we bring them Wikipedia, you actually generate that curiosity and that will to learn. They have attendance that is actually higher than without computers, just because there's something to do. It's nice, it's funny, the images, it moves, you click, and you get to learn. So it makes learning interesting and it shows in attendance. The other thing is that it also has a social element. We had deployments in Ladakh, in northern India, in Himalayas, like valleys, like beautiful pictures, but when you look at it, it's a valley with nothing in it. Every village is 50 kilometers apart and they're very isolated. And yet, having access to Wikipedia, for them, it was huge because they could read about their own valleys and villages, and they were amazed. And they were like, wow, this is so cool. And they wanted to create their own Ladakipedias, which they did. They have a little offline media wiki where they write their articles. And then when someone goes to town, they upload them and they have, articles about Ladakh written by Ladakis. So that's pretty cool. And also in prisons in Europe, you have prisoners that are being, taught skills to come back to normal life. And after classes were over, they would go to Wikipedia and show each other where they were coming from. And it creates a sense of community. People belong, and it makes, again, learning fun. And I think it's very important.
Indeed. I see the way like the interactive learning that Kiwix can also provide in a way. I like the way like how you categorize, like mathematics in Wikipedia, science in Wikipedia. It definitely, helps to connect with like which subject that I want to learn through it. I'm like trying to digest like, wow, this is so interesting, like so much of work happening by you or by your team. That brings me to the last question, Stephane. I know, have read the education newsletter articles, and at times the community members who are engaged with you or with the project, they share about their activities. They share like how they have used Kiwix for trainings, for workshops. I would like to mention a name of a volunteer, Maxwell, who I think is a very active contributor or volunteer to Kiwix from Ghana. I think we interviewed him like a few months back or something regarding this. But I want to understand like how can our community or our allies support with the work that you are doing, how they can also like use Kiwix in their own context. You mentioned about several programs where learning can be used, like the Kiwix can be used for like learning something with the refugee camps, with the prisoners in jail, So how can our community support you in like thinking of like more diverse or innovate more programs and connect with you or support your work?
So they should know that Kiwix is free for the taking. There's a web page, you can download it, or even you go to Android store. It runs on every device. It runs on computers, it runs on Android phones. We even have like little hotspots that are Raspberry based. You put the hotspot in the middle of a classroom, and then everyone within range can just connect to the local network and access whatever is on Kiwix. So it's very easy to use. Just let us know when you get someone to use it, because since they're offline, we never know. And then sometimes we learn it from the newspaper, and it's kind of like, that's nice, but I wish I knew before. So we could actually help them better. So what can they do for us? First of all, tell us if they know someone's using Kiwix. That's good news. The second one is that there's plenty on Kiwix. There's tons, and we really are trying to provide as much content as we can. But in the case of Wiki projects, for instance, we were, okay, what do I remember from school? I'm not that young anymore, so I remember I was doing math, I remember I was doing biology, physics, etc. But if there is a specific Wiki project that you do not find available, do tell us. Reach out, hello@kiwix.org. I would like to have that Wiki project available offline, and then we'll try to make it available. And then, as I said earlier, there's plenty more that's non-Wikimedia, but I think it's important to have a range of possibilities, because you will not learn everything off Wikipedia. Let's be realistic. You need to have a mix of resources, and that's what we're trying to provide. So again, if you think there's a YouTube channel that you think is interesting, maybe we could provide it offline. If you think there's a website that's under a free license, any language. And I actually want to emphasize that if it's a language that is not English, it's one more reason to contact us. There's plenty in English already. There's already quite a bit in French, but particularly if you speak Arabic, if you read Arabic and you know of good website, good resources, come to us, please. But any language we do, we're interested in any language. I'm not against English, but we've got already plenty. So come to us with ideas, tell us what you need, and we'll try to make it work. So really help us by telling us how we can help you, is what I would say.
Great. I know I said that will be my last question, but I just want to like follow up on something, Stephane. You mentioned about any website that is under open access. Does it have to be under open access to be supported, like to be on Kiwix? Is the same for the YouTube channels or the YouTube videos? Do they have to be under open access?
So it is better, because that's easier and we don't need to ask for permission. We just give credit. It's just easier. But we do have situations where actually the website or the YouTube channel was under copyright. I mean, no more license, because people they don't always think about like free licensing and things like this. So we just reach out and ask for permission. We clearly explain it's going to go offline. So it's for people that wouldn't, compete with whatever business model we have. And the technology, in essence, can copy anything anywhere. It's nothing that says, oh, it's open access, so I can or cannot. It's our choice because it makes it easier. But even if it's restricted, we can probably work it out. I mean, we need to ask, let's be clear. I'm not advocating that we steal content from someone else. But there's always, people are in education is actually pretty easy to get something.
Yeah. I think it's exciting to see like how it's not just about like Wikipedia, but you can make a package on your own, like having Wikipedia articles or having resources from other projects. I saw like you also support the Gutenberg project, or maybe something from Internet Archive. So it can be like a total package to like provide learning opportunities to different communities, different people. It's exciting like how Wikipedia being one of the largest open educational resources used in this project, and not only like used, but also like distributed to the areas where people do not have access to the internet. So thanks for doing such great work, Stephane and your team. We can take a few minutes to answer a few questions, Stephane. There are two in the chat right now. Is it okay if I take those questions?
Ask away.
Awesome. Thanks. So I think the first one that came from Brenda, which is not the question, but probably a request for collaboration. So Rita is sharing, we need to have a project with you in Russia with the St. Petersburg user group. We have agreement with an Academy of Digital Technology. So what's the best way to reach out to you?
I think Reda should have my email address, but if he does not, then Stephane at kiwix.org. And basically give us the URL so we can look it up. But yeah, we just need to work that out. We need to see how the website is being built. If we need to build a scraper, then that's a different ball game, and that's a lot more work. But well, first let's start at the website and we'll get going. So Stephane at kiwix.org.
Thanks, Stephane.
Then we have... I would add, Reda, tu peux parler en français. Ou tu peux écrire en français.
Thanks. There's another question from Anthony. It is, hi Stephane, is there an available way to track the user stats of Kiwix? It would be interesting to know which articles are usually searched, who are the active users in specific time. Thanks anyway for the Kiwix device you have sent us during the WikiGap challenge.
Oh, so no, there is no way to. So Anthony is referring to the Raspberry Pi hotspot that I sent earlier on, that I discussed earlier on. So at this stage, we cannot collect data. However, it is a project for 2022 to have a little machine that would log which are, because it's very interesting to know actually, how much time do people spend on Wikipedia and how random are their searches? Do they do the normal Wikipedia thing, which is like start with what you want to read and end up like 20 pages later on something totally unrelated, or are they more focused? I guess in the classroom, it's also good information to have. So the answer is no, we cannot provide that data yet. And yes, we will try to do it. So end of this year, beginning of next year.
Thanks, Stephane. We don't have question, but Reda has commented that, okay, next time I'll write in French. I just translated French to English. Yeah. Yeah, still not so strong with my French. Yeah.
That's okay.
But as we don't have any questions, I think no more questions. Yeah. Stephane, if you want to like wrap up this discussion just by providing a call to action, what will you say for that?
So my call to action would be to not be shy about reaching out. We're very easy to reach out. We're very much trying to help. We've got definitely limited resources. We're not the foundation, so we cannot help everyone in the world. But if you have a project, you know what you want, you know what you need, you know how to get there, and you need something that is software based. So we cannot help you with physical stuff because that's not what we do. We're like software people. But if you need content and you know where to find it, then let's talk. Yeah, reach out to me, reach out to us. We'll try to work together. We'll try to work together with the foundation if it's a broader project, but there's definitely plenty we can do. And don't be shy. I mean, I look nice. Thanks. I've got good friends, so
Yeah, they're very comfortable, and they're like, oh yes, come to us, ask us for like collaboration. Yeah. Oh, they look like that. Yeah. Oh yeah, that's a very cute cute. Yeah. Thanks, Stephane, for spending this time with us, for chatting with us and sharing your knowledge and talking about Kiwix. I think it's a very interesting project. I've been a big fan of this project since from my volunteer time, and yeah, it's always been nice to like chat with you, whether it's in Berlin or because of the pandemic through this this online discussion. But yeah, we look forward to hear more stories of like how communities can use Kiwix. Yeah. And
we actually if people want to hear more stories, we have a blog where we try to document use cases of people that have been using Kiwix already. So Maxwell, for instance, is one of those stories. There's also a story from the user group in Benin and in Ladakh as well. So if you already are using Kiwix, actually, that's my second call to action. Do send me your stories because we love them, and a little picture so that people can know what's happening. But we got stories from Kyrgyzstan, from Benin, from DRC, from everywhere in the world. So the more stories, the better. That helps. So blog.kiwix.org, and you'll see what it looks like. And yeah, send it our way.
And I'll also add that we also love hearing stories. So if you have collaborated with Kiwix and run some programs, to share it with the education newsletter as well, because it will inspire more and more community members to engage or identify such projects where they can use Kiwix in their own context. So thanks,
Thank you.
thanks, Ivan. Thanks for your time today. Let me try